Hey folks, Chris here with the Crab Apple Cottage. Today I'm going to dehydrate some greens to make a green powder. What I find is during the winter we don't eat as many greens as we should. We tend to go for the root veggies, carrots, I like parsnips, potatoes, onions, things like that. We'll eat apples and oranges, of course, because those are both in season. But we just don't eat the greens that we need to. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is wash these greens. I got some kale and spinach, and then I'm going to dehydrate them and then powder them. And then I can take that green powder and mix it into a variety. Oh man. Mix it into a variety of meals. There's my cat, because like I said before, I can't do a video without my cat in it. Hold on. Alright, so I'm going to get these washed, and then I'll come back and show you what I do after that. So I've got my 8 ounces of spinach and my 12 ounces of kale in the water, and I'm just going to kind of agitate this for a little bit, try to get any sediments off. Now both of these are supposedly washed, but we all know that there are frequently recalls of greens for things like salmonella and E. coli and stuff like that. So I'm just going to give everything a bit of a rinse here in both the kale and the spinach. And then what I'm going to do is, in small batches, because I have unfortunately a small salad spinner, I'm going to put it in the salad spinner and get the excess moisture off of it so that it is ready to go in the dehydrator. Okay, so I'm doing the spinach. I'm going to do probably 3 trays of spinach. That bottom tray is probably a little too full. I might go back and try to thin it out. I have a Nesco American Harvest food dryer dehydrator. It is a used model. As you know, I got a lot of my things at thrift stores and that sort of thing. And this model I got on Facebook Marketplace locally for I think $20 or $25. It was kind of one of my first food preservation appliances that I purchased just to sort of see. I didn't want to invest in a really expensive dehydrator. I just wanted to see how I liked using it, and I use it quite a bit. Unfortunately, the dehydrator only has an on-off switch. It does not have a temperature control. So I am thinking about upgrading. It's not really a priority right now because I have a lot of other things as far as homesteading and preps that I need to get first, but I am considering getting a better dehydrator. Now, I was able to buy additional trays for this dehydrator online through Amazon, and also the jerky trays or the fruit leather trays I was able to purchase online. So this does have a couple more trays than what it originally came with. And speaking of thrift stores, this salad spinner also came from a thrift store, as did those large metal bowls that you saw. So I get a lot of my homesteading supplies from thrift stores. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of the spinach on the tray, then I'm going to go back and get the kale. Okay, so I got the last of the spinach and the kale. I've got 3 trays of spinach, 4 trays of kale. I did separate the thicker stems from the leaves. I just stripped the leaves off of them, and I'm going to dehydrate these separately because they're going to take longer to dehydrate. I learned this method, by the way, from Darcy over at the Purposeful Pantry. So this is the way she does her kale and her greens, and this is the way I do my kale. So if I'd had another tray, I would have put those on there and then dehydrated at the same time as the leaves, and then if they still needed more time after the leaves were done, I would have just put them in there with something else. But it looks like I'm all full, so I'm going to have to save those for maybe tomorrow. Excuse me, I'll just pop them in the fridge and they'll be fine. So I got my dehydrator all full. So you're just going to take the lid, and this thing is pretty. Honestly, these trays are stuffed. They probably shouldn't. They probably shouldn't be as full as they are. But I tend to go overboard on all things in life. So we're just going to wing it and keep all that in there and see how it goes. So then the motor, it just fits there on top. I do have little latches that you can use to latch the edges, but I usually don't bother with it. So I will plug this in and turn it on. It's like I said, it's just got this little on-off switch here, and this will probably go for, well, I over dry most of my things because I'm nervous about, leaving some moisture in there and getting mold. So I will probably dry it all day long. I think Darcy recommends 3 or 4 hours. But I'll probably do it for the whole day. Turn it off maybe before I go to bed, and then once it cools, I can grind it. So we're going to let it get going and get the dehydrator started. So the greens are done. They've been in the dehydrator for 6 hours, probably longer than they needed to be, but I like to make sure things are extra dry. So here's our spinach, and it sounds kind of like dried leaves in the fall. And here's the kale. And you can see how much it shrank down. So after you get it out of the dehydrator, you want to make sure it cools off. That's the test, because sometimes it can still be a little pliable when it's still warm, but after it's cooled off, if it's still, if it's friable like this, then it's good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it off the trays into this bowl, and then I'm going to powder it. Okay, so here we've got my bowl, my big bowl, full of kale and spinach, all just kind of mixed up in there. And I use a KitchenAid coffee grinder for powders. It's probably not the most efficient thing, because as you can see, it's a pretty small little bowl. It holds, I think it says on here, 2 cups maybe. I think it doesn't say, but I think it's 2 cups. So it doesn't hold a lot, and it's going to take me a little while, but that's what I have, so that's what I use. So basically, I just put this in here. See, I'm trying to do it with one hand, and I'm trying to do it with my left hand. So we're just going to put some in there as I'll show you. I could probably get a little bit more in there, but with the KitchenAid, you just stick it in there, put your lid on, and away we go. Give it a shake down. Looks like I've got some pieces in there still, and actually I think what I'm going to do is put some more greens in there to keep going. So let me do that, and I'll get back with you guys. Okay, update. So what I found is that I could just take my hands with the kale and spinach and just crush it with my hands and get it almost powdered. And that whole bowl that I had of greens, after I just finger crumbled it, this is how much I had left. I haven't actually crushed any more in the coffee grinder. So now I can take this, which is a lot less volume, and put this in the coffee grinder and get my powder. So there's my powder. You can see in there. And you know what? I probably should have got a much smaller jar, because this is barely going to come up there. But like I said, this jar was kind of was broken, so I thought I'd just go ahead and use it anyways. All right, here we go. Okay, folks, so here's what we've got. I actually did decide to take it out of the quart jar and put it into a pint jar, and even then, look at that. It's not even a half pint. It's like over a quarter pint of powder. So all of that spinach and kale makes this powder. So this is concentrated goodness right here. This is so good for you. So I will use that in a variety of recipes to boost our vitamin content. And I'm going to seal it up. I have this old lid. I saved my old lids after canning. This actually wasn't one of my lids. It looks like it was from somebody else. And then I have the attachment that goes on the jar. Hold on, that's not fitting. So this attachment just goes over there, and then if you have any sort of, I use this handheld food saver. You just stick it like that. Push the button on top, and you can hear it sucking the air out of there. Alright, so then, let's see if I can get this off with one hand. Put this down in just a second. Okay, so I got the jar attachment off, and there we go. There's my green powder, vacuum sealed. You can see the lid's not coming off. There's no band on it. It's just the lid. Like I said, this is a used lid. That's usually what I use for my dehydrated products that I'm going to be accessing frequently. So there's my powder, and it's going to go by my stove, and I can throw it in my my dishes, so it's handy right there. You got to put it right there by your stove so that you use it in everything. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, I'm back. One more tip I wanted to give you guys. So this is my tomato powder that I made from leftover tomato skins and seeds from when I made tomato sauce and tomato juice this summer. This thing was full. Actually, I think I had 2 or 3 jars of this, and this is all I have left. So I've used this a lot. But I wanted to show you that you can get these screw-on lids to go on various sizes of canning jars, both the wide mouth and the regular mouth lids. And also, fun tip, those little lids that go on Parmesan cheese, they actually fit on your regular mouth lids or jars. So I can actually, if I find that I'm using this a lot, I can just put this on the canning jar, and then I can just sprinkle it directly into my food. So do save these. If you get Parmesan cheese, save these, because they are useful for jars of things that you add to your food regularly. Just a fun little tip there. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.